Hi, I'm Miss Emily. Today we're going to be reading The Very Hungry Caterpillar and then doing your craft. This is a project that's appropriate for really little kids as well as older kids. So if you want to skip through the book, you can. All right, let's get started. The Very Hungry Caterpillar. In the light of the moon, a little egg lay on a leaf. Can you find the egg? One Sunday morning, the warm sun came up and pop! Out of the egg came a tiny and very hungry little caterpillar. He started to look for some food. On Monday, he ate through one apple, but he was still hungry. On Tuesday, he ate through 2 pears, but he was still hungry. On Wednesday, he ate through 3 plums, but he was still hungry. On Thursday, he ate through 4 strawberries, but he was still hungry. On Friday, he ate through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 oranges, but he was still hungry. He's eating a lot, isn't he? On Saturday, he ate through 1 piece of chocolate cake, 1 ice cream cone, 1 pickle, 1 slice of Swiss cheese, 1 slice of salami, 1 lollipop, 1 piece of cherry pie, 1 sausage, 1 cupcake, 1 slice of watermelon, and that night he had a stomachache. My favorite thing on here is the ice cream cone. What's yours? The next day was Sunday again. The caterpillar ate through 1 nice green leaf, and after that he felt much better. Now he wasn't hungry anymore, and he wasn't a little caterpillar anymore. He was a big, fat caterpillar. He built a small house called a cocoon around himself. He stayed inside for more than 2 weeks. That's kind of like us right now. Then he nibbled a hole in the cocoon and pushed his way out. He was a beautiful butterfly. And that's the end of our story. So today we are going to be making some awesome salt dough butterflies. And salt dough is a lot different than when we paint or draw because we're going to use it to sculpt. I went ahead and put on my apron because the next steps might get a little bit messy. I'm going to list out some things that you will need to go ahead and make your salt dough, and then you can go get those materials. So the first thing that you will need is some flour, salt. You'll need some water. I have about 1 cup of water, a measuring cup, a spoon, a knife to level the flour, a whisk. This is kind of optional, but I think it helps, and some foil and a rolling pin. And then if you want to find any items that you can texture your dough with, you can do that now as well. But if you want to wait and see what I mean by that, I understand that as well. And yep, that's it. That's all you'll need. All right, so now that you have all your ingredients and you're ready to start, let's go ahead and do it. We need to get 2 cups of flour to start. And it's really important when you're doing anything that's like baking that you measure things exactly. So I'm gonna take my scooper and I'm gonna kind of dip it down in here, and I'm gonna have kind of like a heaping scoop full. And if we were in class right now, I'd say, where should I wipe all this extra off? Should I do it over the table? No, that would make a huge mess. I'm gonna hold it back over here. And then I have this knife. You could use a popsicle stick if you have one. That would be great if you want the kids to do it. I'm just gonna take this and kind of do some little chop, 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 chops, just like that. And now I'm gonna whoosh it off, and it all falls back into that bowl because I'm holding it over the big container. And now I'm gonna dump this cup into my big bowl. Make sure I get all of it out. And now I need 1 more because I need 2 cups. So I'm gonna repeat my process. Once again, if I just dumped it, that'd be way too much. So I have to chop, 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 chop. That kind of presses it into all the holes in the cup. And then I whoosh, level it off. All right, so now I have my 2 cups of flour and I'm ready for my next ingredient, and that ingredient is salt. and I need a lot of salt for this. So make sure you have a big container with a lot of extra salt. And I'm gonna do an entire cup of salt, just 1 cup. This is a lot of salt. It kind of reminds me of snow as it's falling in there. All right. I think that's good. So now I'm just gonna pour that in there. I like to kind of sprinkle it. All right. So now before I add my water, I need to make sure these are all really mixed into each other. So I'm gonna use my whisk to do that. I'm just gonna take my whisk and move it around in a circle like this. If I don't hold this bowl and I kind of go crazy, my flour and salt might fly everywhere. So I like to use my helping hand when I'm stirring things. That makes sure that I don't accidentally have a big mess. Maybe you could count and do it 15 times. That would be a good number to make sure it's all mixed up. Okay. So now, the next thing I need to add is about 3/4 cup water. So we're doing 2 cups of flour, 1 cup of salt, and about 3/4 cup water. I think it's a little bit more than that, but I start with 3/4 cup and then I just add a little bit more. That's why I said 1 cup of water. So I add a little bit when I do this, and then I stir it around. It makes it easier to stir if you do a little bit at a time, as opposed to doing all of it at once. Now, I wanted to mention too, that after you mix this up, if you want, you could add food coloring and separate it into different balls of different colors instead of painting your project. I always like to paint, so we're gonna paint today, but if you would rather do that, by all means, it's kind of like you're making all the colors of Play-Doh and making your project that way. So if that's something that interests you, feel free to do it that way. So you're just gonna keep mixing it until it gets kind of really hard to mix, and then I usually start mixing it with my hands, which might get a little messy, but that's okay. So I'm gonna mix this up really, really well, and I'm noticing that it still has a lot of flour in the bottom, so I'm trying to incorporate that into this. But it's still pretty dry, so I'm gonna add that little bit extra water that I think it needs. And if you accidentally add a little bit too much water, just add more flour. All right, so I'm gonna jump ahead here. I have some pre-mixed dough. And your dough should look like this. And like I said before, if you want to add color at this point and separate it into little balls, you can just add a few drops of food coloring to each one and make it into proper Play-Doh. But we're gonna paint our project, so we're gonna leave it white today. Now that we mixed our dough up, we're gonna go ahead and play with our dough and try out some different techniques with it before we make our butterfly. I put a little bit of flour down just so it doesn't stick too much, and it's a good idea to work on foil just in case your special creation is kind of hard to peel up or is a little bit fragile. It's good to have it on the surface you're gonna bake it on. So I'm gonna get some dough out. I think I'm just gonna pull a little ball off so that I can play with it. And now would be a good time to just try some different things out and see what it feels like. Something I always like to do is try to roll like a little snake. And if you roll a snake, instead of going around and around and around and around, you go up and down. And it's kind of always a fun challenge to see how long of a snake you can make. If I make a really long snake, what I like to do is turn it into a snail. That's kind of a simple thing because you just take one end of it and it starts out kind of looking like a little lollipop, and then you just stop and boop, I have a little snail. Or I could work on rolling a ball. And if I roll a ball, I just kind of first squeeze it in my hands and then I go around and around. Oh, I think I gotta squeeze it a little bit harder. Got a little bit too much flour on it. Maybe I'll do it in my hands like this. Roll a ball like that. I wanted to make a little snowman, I could just stack a few like that. Also, I might need to use my pinchers a little bit for this project, so maybe I'll kind of pinch and pull some little pieces like that. Maybe I'll also stack these pieces and make a tower. Oh, that one fell off, that's okay. Wow, so many possibilities. Maybe I'll kind of just make a little pancake. So when I make a pancake, which this is gonna be an important shape for our butterfly today, I always just start by rolling a ball. And then I just kind of smash it down. Like that. Okay. You can go ahead and play with your dough for a little bit and try some different techniques out. Another thing you could try, especially if you're a little bit older, you could try rolling a ball and then making it into a cube. That's kind of a fun thing to do. You just kind of roll it and then you kind of pinch it and tap. Pinch and tap. And you tap all the different sides and kind of all of a sudden have like a little cube shape. Just a lot of fun things you can try just with pinching and rolling. All right, so now we're gonna finally jump into making our awesome salt dough butterfly. So I'm gonna show you a really simple way to do this, but if you have another way you'd like to try, you can do it really however you want. So for our sculpture, this is going to be something that can lay flat because butterflies are such thin, dainty little creatures. So we're gonna make 4 balls like this to start. So I'm just gonna kind of pull a big chunk off and make a ball. There should probably be some left over too. You won't really need the entire ball. So I'm just kind of rolling it. All right, so now that I have these 4 balls, I'm just gonna kind of work a little bit more on smoothing them out, and then I'm gonna start to place them to be the wings of my butterfly. And right now you might think, that looks like a ball, Miss Emily. That doesn't look like a wing, but once we flatten them out, they'll look like little wings. So I'm gonna put one here, and I'm gonna take my hand and just kind of press it down. Oh, it's sticking to my hand. If that happens, you can take a little bit of flour and just sprinkle it on top again, so that way it won't stick to you so much. Maybe I'll put a little bit of flour on my hands too. There we go. Now that won't happen. So there, I have a little wing. It's actually a pretty big wing. And now I think I actually want this one to be a little bit smaller, and these balls were all about the same size. So I'm gonna pull this off, so I'm gonna make it a little smaller because I want the bottom wings to be smaller than the top wings. Yours can be however you want. That's just how I'm making mine. So I'm rolling my ball. I'm gonna go right about here. I'm gonna press it down, and I want them to meet, so I'm just gonna kind of make sure that happens. All right, now I think I'll do the other one up top here. Gonna roll it, and now I'm gonna flatten it out. I want them to meet as well, so I'm gonna make sure that happens and move it closer if I need to. All right, and now I'm gonna put my last one on here. Maybe I think I need to move this one a little bit closer. There we go. Okay. You can, this dough's pretty forgiving, so you can kind of just press it however you need it to go. All right, so now that I have my butterfly's top and bottom wings, I can go ahead and make its little body. I'm gonna pull off a chunk. And this is when we're gonna use that skill where we learned how to roll a snake and it doesn't need to be very thin. It needs to be kind of more about probably the thickness of like a hot dog. There we go, that's great. I'm just gonna put that little body on there. and kind of give it some gentle presses, kind of make sure that all meets there. All right, there I have a cute little butterfly. Now, this is the part where you can get really creative and find different things that you could press into your butterfly to give it texture, make it super unique. So maybe you want to use some paper clips, beads, pens, the whisk right here, anything that you have around the house that you think you could gently but not intensely press into this that would make a unique design. I found this little mechanical pencil and I really like how it looks when I press little dots into it. I think it looks really, really, really neat to do that. So I'm gonna work on adding some dots to mine. I really like that look. I'm gonna give my butterfly 2 little eyes so it can see. Maybe I'll make a little smile on it. It's a happy butterfly. And now maybe I'll give it some little stripes. It's more like connect the dot stripes because it's all made of dots. If you really want to add a ton of details like this, you could also think about symmetry. And does your butterfly have the same thing on this wing as this wing? All right, so when you finish adding textures and you are happy with the look of your butterfly, you can go ahead and bake it in the oven. And when you do that, it hardens completely and allows you to paint it. So you can bake it for 2 hours. Luckily, we have a lot of time at 250 degrees. All right, so as you can see, I went ahead and got my butterfly out of the oven and have started to paint her, and I chose purple and blue and pink paint. I'm using acrylic paint just because I think it's less transparent, but you can really use whatever paint you're comfortable with on these. So now here's the thing, when it's time to switch colors, boys and girls, it's very important that you give your brush a bath. Because if I were to take my purple brush and dunk it in that pink paint, the pink paint wouldn't be pink anymore. It would be like pinkish purplish. So I'm gonna say, Mr. Paintbrush, you have to take a bath. He's gonna say, I don't wanna take a bath. And I'm gonna say, but you have to take a bath. And he'll say, oh, okay. And I'm gonna give him a bath in there. And if I just kind of put him in there, that's not really a bath. I have to kind of scrub him on the bottom and move it all around. And then when I get it out, there's still a little bit of paint on there. So to make sure it's all the way clean, I'm gonna give him a second bath. And then I'm also gonna use a paper towel. That'll be super helpful to wipe up any of the extra paint. So now when I start to use my pink paint, I don't have to worry that I'm getting purple paint in there. It's gonna stay bright pink and it's not gonna change at all. Now, if you're working in a really small area, you might want to use a smaller paintbrush if you have one. And if you're working in a larger area, use a larger brush. It'll get it done a little bit more quickly. So that's just kind of a good rule of thumb for when you're painting. Big area, big brush. Little area, little brush. All right, so I hope you guys enjoy painting your butterflies. And I'll tell you one more thing you can do to decorate and embellish your butterfly at home. All right, last but not least, we're going to add some flair to our butterflies. I have sequins that I'm gonna use for mine, but if you have glitter glue or glitter, anything sparkly that you would like to add, feel free. Or if you aren't into the glitter, you can always skip this step. But to do that, I just have regular Elmer's glue, and this is when I would ask the kids, why is this not working? Because we need to open it. So if you need help opening it, these are some tips. I like to pretend my hand is like an alligator and chop. It takes the lid just like that, and I twist, let go, twist, let go, twist, let go. And if I've opened it, it'll sound like a little puppy panting, like, let's see if we can hear it. It's open. Okay, so now I'm gonna think about where I would like to put some of these sequins. And sequins are kind of small, so I have to use my pinching fingers to just pick out a couple of them. I think I'm gonna stick with silver on mine. All right, maybe I'll kind of try to make this wing look like this wing. So I'm just gonna squeeze a little dot just like this. And if the glue bottle feels heavy, you can use 2 hands to hold it. I kind of just make my little dot and pick it up. And then I can just gently place my little sequins on. And then you can go ahead and add as many as you'd like. If you want to fill your entire butterfly with sequins, feel free. But I hope you have fun today, and I hope you use some of this time to create something special.